Hi folks, Matthew Lanigan here with Baywa RE. Still seeing people signing in, so we'll just give it another minute or two and we'll be right back with you. Thanks so much. Hi folks, Matthew Lanigan here again with Baywa RE. Thank you very much for taking the time to spend with us and our partner Solis today. Really appreciate it. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. This will be recorded, so it'll be up on our YouTube channel later today. So if you haven't signed up for our YouTube channel, we'd really appreciate if you did. You can go on there, you can see this presentation as well as many others that we've done in the past. It'll also be shared in our monthly newsletter as well. We will be taking questions. If you don't mind, you can just put them into the bottom right corner. We will do our best to answer them on the fly. Continuing education is very important to Baywa. We're really happy to be able to share that with our customer base as well. So once again, really happy to have you here. Before we introduce Solis, I'd just like to test the chat box. So just if anybody could type into the chat box, just make sure it's working, then we'll be good to go. Great, thanks, Jeff, appreciate it. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Terrence Parker with Solis. Terrence.
Thank you, Matthew. I really appreciate it. And it's good to be back with the Baywa team and all the audience today. Baywa and Solis have been working together for a while now, and we participated in a lot of Baywa events over the past year, and it's been quite fascinating and excellent, really. I mean, we were just at the Baywa Summit in New Mexico, and it was an amazing event. And so I'm really glad to be back and talking with y'all today and give you kind of an update of where we are here midsummer. And so just right off the bat, I'd just like to, well, wish everyone here a happy solstice. We're all got sun in our soul, all of us here in this audience. And it's an amazing thing, how we've been using the sun to kind of find out what day and time it is forever and ever. And so I'm really pleased to be working with y'all. And just for your own edification, this summer solstice is directly when the sun is right over the Tropic of Cancer. And this is the beginning of our astronomical summer here in the Northern Hemisphere. So happy solstice, everyone. I'm glad to be with you. Let me give you an update on where Solis is. Remember, we're an international company, and we just recently were at the SNEC. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that, but it's an amazing show. There were over 350,000 attendees. So kind of, compared to how many did we get at RE Plus this year? 50,000, something like that. It's just amazing. And we had a huge booth with over 100 employees from all around the world. You can see a few of my tired employees down in the bottom right there, going home. It was an exhausting event. But just to give you an idea where we are corporate-wise, our quarterly statements show that assets were up. You can check, of course, we're a publicly traded company, and so you can check Genlong Technologies on the web, and you'll see also that our revenue has been flat since Q4 because we've really been building quite a bit. We have a new building in Vietnam, and we are currently at around 40 gigs, but are expanding up to 80 gigs plus. So the company's growing. You're with a winner. So the big news corporate-wise, I would say, is that we opened up our Vietnam factory, and we're going into full production here. Tours, if you're in the area, I'm looking forward to visiting. If you're in the area, we can schedule some tours, and we'll be generally building our hybrids and our residential line first, and then start with the commercial stuff a little later. So we're all excited about that as a company to continue opening up and expanding our manufacturing capability, because we are the manufacturer, no contract manufacturing here. We own the land, we own the machines. But here in the US, I might say that, I mean, you've seen this slide before. We don't sell direct, except, the volume, unless they meet the volume requirements. And of course, that we white label, and we recently, you may have seen our new hybrid being white labeled with Fortress. And we have other partnerships going on. We still maintain our warehouse in the Hayward, California area. And I guess the news for this slide here is that we are opening up a new warehouse and lab space in the Dallas-Fort Worth area later this year. So we'll be able to do some testing and warehousing of both RMA units and emergency unit kind of things. We will look at if anything needs refurbishing, we could do that. So we're excited about this new continuing the presence of Solis here in North America. We have 30 employees now, and now we'll be having 2 different warehouses and our own lab. So we really are here to stay. And as I note, whenever I'm talking with folks about Solis, I say that we not only bring the equipment, but we bring the people too. So I encourage you to, if any of your customers are wondering about us, to have them call our 866 number. And I'm saying right to you now that you will get a warm body on the phone. And we're proud to offer that. So it's been an exciting year so far, and a lot of things are happening. Of course, all the inverters had to kind of switch over to a new standard, really, to incorporate interoperability with the grid. So there's been a lot of action going on in the solar world, trends that you'll see. And one of them, of course, is the end of NEM 2 in California. This is a big deal. As I note, I was attending a BayWa event just recently, and they had a Roth MKM come in and give us a brief on their analysis of the market. And you can see that they're predicting kind of flat growth over the year, maybe 10%. And traditionally, the solar market has always surprised us, hasn't it, in its capability to bounce back, its ability to keep growing. And so these numbers are quite conservative. But they're seeing some issues with installer bankruptcies and other things, and they're having a little trouble with the solar loan funding from credit unions is way down. And so I'm kind of curious to know whether anyone in the audience there is seeing this issue with having some issues getting their funding, and that might support something like a more lease capabilities. But we also had another guy from BayWa actually make this presentation, and he was talking to all the installers that were attending there, the companies that were attending, about the investment tax credits that are available in the US for putting in solar, and how maybe there's really some advantages to maybe talking about a third-party owned segment. And so maybe adding that to your portfolio could be a solution to maybe the difficulty in getting financing and that sort of thing. So it was an interesting strategy, and we're all a little concerned, let's say, in the second quarter or going into the third quarter about how people feel about this new ITC. We're seeing the resi market, maybe they seem to be going along pretty well, but the C&I market is still looking for a little bit more guidance on what's going on with the incentives and so the add-ons and all of that. And so there we do see maybe a little bit of hesitation there. And I'd also like to just put in my own view that I've seen through in talking to different customers about their about these new hybrids and adding storage to all of these systems. Of course, you know, that means that there's a much higher sales price. These batteries can double the price of the system, and there's a longer commissioning process, although that's not too bad, and new maintenance contracts, and they may be more beneficial to you. But and these, I'm hoping that with these new batteries, you're seeing greater margins on your systems, and so that's what we hope. And going forward, but you know, I think that there's going to be a time where we're harking back to the good old days, you know, of just grid tie inverters, where really the installation of these systems and maybe the dominant ones that are out there today have become pretty plug and play, haven't they? I mean, really, it's quite quick. They're quite easy. There's the commissioning process is, I mean, grid tie inverters have one working mode, right? I mean, they're just grid tied. So whereas hybrids, they'll have 4 or 5 different kinds of working modes. And so it's a different animal. And I wonder whether or not, you know, not having to think about the installs with these grid tie systems, you hear so many folks say, whether we'll remember back fondly of those days as we install more and more batteries. Because I do believe that these kinds of systems, these systems with hybrid inverters and MIDs, these microgrid interconnection devices or switches or line side paralleling devices, whatever you want to call them, by adding in this kind of device, it's on the line side, of course, that means you're going to have an electrician on site, right, to move those big wires off the service panel. So I think there's some added complication, some new learning that has to happen as we go into this new era of adding batteries to systems. But I encourage you to do it. When I started in PV back in the 1988 area, every system had batteries, and it really adds such capability to your system. And I think that going forward, this control and these new capabilities are really what customers are going to be looking for. So, but you know, from the field, we're hearing things. We're hearing things about inspectors not really being familiar with these battery safety requirements, for example, and they may err on the side of caution. We heard this a little bit. Remember, Matthew, when we were in Canada recently, where an installer told us about how he had to put a bollard right in the middle of the parking spot in the middle of the garage because the inspector just wasn't sure exactly how to protect that battery in the garage, and caused him a lot of extra work and time. And so there's that, and so that may cost you some money. And admittedly, Soluna here that you see is quite a large company, global company, but many of these names are new to these battery these installers, and so I'm really I understand how they might be a little hesitant to you know, be trustworthy, trust these new names, and may want to default over to something they recognize. But I encourage them to really check out these companies and see whether or not they're actually assemblers of batteries or whether they're actually cell producers of batteries. There are different kinds of battery companies, and there's a lot of information on the web that you can check out. So another big thing that we're noticing is a little bit more interest in this UL 3741 certification. This certification can allow you to use method 1 in 690.12, a rapid shutdown under the National Electrical Code, as opposed to number 2 here. You can see I've kind of graded out here. Control conductors located inside the array boundary shall be limited to not more than 80 volts within 30 seconds, right? I mean, we are talking about rapid shutdown receivers up on the roof on every module, and they comply with rapid shutdown using method 2. However, this new UL certification, the firefighters are already familiar with not PV fire hazard, but fire hazard certifications for different equipment and stuff they have. This is for PV, and should you get the whole system listed, then you can avoid putting in all of these rapid shutdown devices within the array boundary. So what Solis has done is we have taken a set of our inverters and we have had them qualified and put on the AVLs of these racking companies, and we're adding new ones every day. So why would you do this? If you have the opportunity to put, for example, this inverter with, let's say, an AC switch on it within the array field, and you get the DC wires managed properly and get the certification, all that, well, then you can save a lot of money. You can avoid buying all of those rapid shutdown devices. And this can save you some substantial cents on things. Now, I warn you here that part of this certification is getting better DC wire management underneath the racking solution. And so your racking companies will now have this adder on their racking solutions for better DC wire management underneath the array. It's not a cost elimination as much as it's a cost shift, but it's a cost shift down, a substantial cost shift down. And I would, of course, there's a substantial time savings here as well. And so this is something that you might consider. And some folks are even a little concerned about all the MC4 connector types up there. You're adding a lot of them, doubling and tripling them. Is that an issue? And there is, this 3741 certification is actually, part of firefighting. And so it's respected amongst firefighters. So there's some benefits there. Might want to take a look at that. But, another but, right? Some installers are reporting that they can't use it. And they're saying their jurisdiction is even 2023, let alone 2020, right? And so they are saying that, sorry, Terrence, we just can't take advantage of this. Our inspector's not familiar at all with 3741. He doesn't know what's going on. And he's saying that I can just let that go open circuit in there. And so that's an issue. And then some friends of mine who are already taking advantage of this are saying that, yeah, it's lovely if the roof top is relatively unshadowed or doesn't have a lot of equipment up there, and the arrays are quite rectangular or square in shape. You have a better opportunity to use this properly. Whereas if the arrays are all broken up in different shapes, and in shape of an E and shape of an F, and say, all these different segments of the PV array up on the roof, then it becomes much more difficult. And so, yeah, there may be opportunities for you to really take advantage of this on your commercial rooftops, for example, and save some bucks. But there are some issues, but we want you to be aware of what's going on already. Now, as I said, the typical solution for this kind of thing is to put the actual inverter right up there within the array field. And you can then use let's say a NEMA 4X AC switch right on the side of the inverter to essentially disconnect the PV system conductors outside the array boundary, which in this case would be the inverter conductors outside. So now by shutting down the inverter, you have set the PV array into open circuit, and you have shut down the conductors, leaving the PV array and going down to the point of connection. And so typically this is done with the inverter right there on the within the array boundary, mounting the whole damn inverter right up there next to the PV modules. But wouldn't it be lovely if we could just mount the string level PV disconnect device up there? Solis has had some success with this device in residential applications, and now we're taking a look at a new device here. As you can see, 1000 volt rated, 20 amp per circuit. And instead of putting the inverter up there within that array boundary, you can see in the top center there, we put the switch and keep the inverter down on the ground, much easier to access. Interesting new development at Solis. We also are looking at demand response modes. We're using these mainly to detect phase loss. And so there's some new things going on with DRMs in the industry, but today Solis is using these to detect phase loss. So interesting new developments within the inverters to keep our customers safe. Let's take a look at some of the residential products that Solis is doing, and truthfully, there wasn't a heck of a lot of change. I mean, the big news for us in Q2 was that we got all of our residential grid tie products CEC listed, and I might note that they are all CSIP listed as well. You'll note that really, although the inverter looks very much the same, we've added this little plus sticker, so to speak, on the web pages and the data sheets and that sort of thing. And what that indicates is that although the inverter is virtually the same, we've increased the ampacity capability of the MPPTs themselves. So you can accept up to 14 amps per MPPT on this inverter. If you multiply 14 amps times the 330 that the inverter is rated for, you can put as much as 1.8 to 1 DC-AC ratio on these new interoperable inverters. So I said you can't really tell a difference between what's going on here, but inside, these inverters are now also rated for interoperability and communication with the grid and our own Solis cloud for demands from the utility. So although on the inside, this is now a new SB inverter, for you installers, really, we want you to know that it's now got the bigger ampacity on the terminals. And of course, it still has all the flexibility of being able to connect with any rapid shutdown device you want, or any monitoring solution you want to go with. We have a free cloud, and a pretty good platform, I think, but should you need to go with somebody else, we can give you the Modbus map, and you can map it to someone that you prefer. So that's the bit of news on the residential, in that just a bit of increased capability on the MPPTs and the CEC listing. Not much updates really over the past few months on the hybrid, but it was also CEC listed in Q2. So we're very pleased that we've gotten essentially our entire product line listed on the California Energy Commission list, which is a big opener for many of the states here in the U.S. and is double checked by a lot of different utility operators as kind of a seal of approval. You can see this image is maybe a little different from the images we were recently showing in the past month. We've actually made this a little smaller. Before we're releasing it, we've actually were able to reduce the size and weight of the device, and so it still, again, has that high amp capability. We've increased the capacity of each MPPT in this device as well, up to 16 amps actually, as opposed to just 14. So it can take a lot of power in. Again, that's a 1.8 to 1 DC-AC ratio if you wanted to go that high. Exciting about these kinds of transformerless inverters is their capability now to develop to handle surge. And so you can see that we can put out 47.5, almost 50 amps continuous on these inverters, but we can also put out 76 amps for 10 seconds to start up those large air conditioner units. We're actually building up towards 100 amp. My colleagues overseas have difficulty believing that we would have some sort of 5-ton air conditioner in a home, but indeed it happens. And so these hybrids really have to be quite capable when it comes to surge. And so you'll learn here also that we're offering this product with a new product called the Solis Hub. And when you tie into this, you'll be having to be able to control that 5-ton air conditioner from your mobile phone. That's the kind of new platform that we really believe is going to be taking over, is that line tie device, the Solis Hub, where you can line tie all of your inverters, your generator, your EV, everything, and really control it from your phone. But you don't have to get into all of that. Remember, the Solis Hub requires an electrician to essentially line tie your system and bring your existing service panel down to be essentially the load panel for the home. This is whole home service. But you don't need to do that. You can kind of just tie in on the load side, just like we always have. And then you can parallel the inverters. There's an RJ45 jack in these inverters, and you can parallel them with Cat5 cable, CAN bus type connection and add and stack essentially your backup breakers into a small AC load panel and then into a backup panel. So you can do, this inverter here, this 11.4 does 47.5 amps. You times 2, you're into 95 amps continuous. That's almost 100 amp panels. So just by avoiding putting in a Solis hub at all and just doing a standard grid tie type of system, you can power up the entire home almost. So anyway, we're really excited about the new hybrid. This is coming out to your shelving soon, and we're still on schedule to release the hub here later this year. So for us, this is quite a versatile device, and getting it CEC listed this past quarter was a big hump for us, and we're looking forward to getting it out to you. So why would you install a hybrid? We think that mainly, you're maybe if you're limited on your roof space, you can really use these high power modules. You're really not limited at all with these inverters with, as I note, on this hybrid 16 amps. That's going to be able to handle a 700 watt module if needed. So if you are looking for those high power, high density power modules, you require them. This is a type of inverter that can accept those kinds of big modules. And so I think that's one reason why you might want to take a look at these kinds of PV string systems, because of their versatility and working with every kind of module you got. Any module, any rapid shutdown, any battery, really. And so really we're talking about a kind of an inverter, what we call more of like a Microsoft as a kind of inverter that can work with a variety of different partners. You don't need to join the family, so to speak, and just have the family choices. You really have an opportunity to customize your system to whatever your customer use case might be. And it might also give you a little bit more flexibility if supply chain issues come up and you can't get this kind of product or that kind of product. You have the opportunity to use what you want with the Solis hybrids. This is a long list of stuff, and I'll send this inverter. I'll send this inverter, I hope, and this whole presentation out to the team here, to everybody on the call, and you can kind of run through this list. But this is kind of this open model for system design, and so with a 10 millisecond backup, you've really got some, and that Bluetooth control over the system. I think you've really got what we think to be the new platform. Any questions so far on residential? Are we getting anything in the chat there that I might want to address?
Just one. Ike asked, can you speak a little more on how the hub works?
Yeah. So the hub is like a virtual ATS. You can think of it that way. Automatic transfer switch. It is essentially got some logic and some other things in there that disconnect and essentially Y switch away the generator from the PV and such like that. So there's really a way for you to control, stop and start your generator, to have it auto start based on the logic within the Solis hub. So that's the first thing you can think of when you think of this device, is that you could just literally just connect your generator to it and the Solis hybrid with a battery. You don't need any PV at all. And you could essentially just use it as a device that can charge a battery, maybe not in California, but you can charge your battery from your generator. There's a whole bunch of different things you can do because of the coordination that the hub gives you. Essentially you can install a Solis hybrid on the load side, like I showed you there, and then you can tie a couple of them together if you want to stack them, that sort of thing, and then install a standard ATS with a generator. And I did this off grid. I did this all the time, but I become the hub where I have to shut down my PV and then turn on my generator, right? And it works just fine. But then when the power comes back on, my generator is going to shut down, but then I have to turn all my PV back on, that sort of stuff. But so it's kind of odd way to do it. And what the hub does is it really coordinates all of these devices together. And so that's what I want you to think of the hub as, a way to coordinate the EV charging and possibly the grid to home and home to the EV battery, that sort of stuff, to coordinate the charging of the battery and to have the battery and the generator share loads, these sorts of things. It's really a fascinating device. And there is a standard which can be used to sort of, let's say, get all these devices to kind of work similarly so that we can use them in microgrids and things like that. So I think that really there's another need, and that where with these new hybrids and things, there's ancillary things, services, and maybe even money to be made off the grid through different services that you can provide. And that's going to, if you have a device that can coordinate those messages or requests from the grid, it really, I think, adds to the capability of residential systems going forward. Does that answer the question or just bring up more questions?
I think we're good for now. Thank you.
Yeah, we love the hub. We really think, and we're seeing it embraced by a wide variety of companies. For example, Fortress is, they're famous for low voltage batteries. Now they're introducing high voltage battery, and they're coming out with a new MID, essentially, they're called the Allure, that's paired with our battery. And so you can actually take a look at that now, and on their website and that sort of thing, to kind of get an idea of what they see as the benefits of that kind of architecture. Okay, I said that we got all of our inverters listed on the CEC, didn't I? Except for one. Yeah, we're still trying to get the 25 through 60 on the list, and so we've gotten through our SB testing already, and so we're just completing our SA testing. It's been, our other set of inverters have gone through this. We're quite experienced at this, and so we expect that we'll be done in another week with the SB testing, and we expect listing on the CEC in August. So that's good news for everybody. We hope we're already taking orders for this product. It's really, I want you to know that it got listed, will be listed with the CSIP gateway capability. This is important, I think. It's not necessary to get on the CEC list, and I might note that some of the inverters that you're going to see on that list don't have a CSIP certification. And what does that mean? Well, what that means is that the new SB capabilities meeting the IEEE 1547-2018 are capable of grid interoperability, and they have a limited generation profile control. They do. But when you have CSIP certification, you are now able to accept like 24 scheduled events over the course of the day. So as far as Solis is concerned, we just feel as though having CSIP certification is beneficial to the customers in the long run. So another big deal, of course, is the fact that we're coming out with a new 208 version, and this has been Natasha, my partner here, is really both of us have been fighting for this, and we're finally coming out with it. So we're looking forward to this. We're already looking at putting this into apartment complexes and other solutions. We think it's going to fill a nice niche. It's a good cost and all of that for solving these 208 systems, a true three-phase inverter. So yeah, super excited about this one as well. 100K just keeps rolling along. It's our best selling inverter. Of course, it's also CSIP, but where you can see that wide DC input voltage range, the capability to adjust to the output, the AC voltage connection voltage at some of these legacy arrays. This has just made it a superstar in the repowering market. And so in many cases, you end up having to kind of parallel together a number of these lower power strings, and you can see that we've kind of kept that in that top right corner of the slide there. You see there's a combiner box being used with our 100K inverter there, and the capabilities, because I said that we've upped our game to 32 amps per input, not just per MPPT, but per input. We can really do some paralleling of these older strings, lower amp PV module strings, in a combiner, and then bring it directly over to our inverter. So like I say, repowering for this line of inverters has been really a good seller for us. So what's going on going forward? Well, we've got a number of things going on. One of them is with intelligent receivers and transmitters. We are supplying the intelligent transmitter board with our inverters these days, along with, of course, APS and Tigo and NEP, another brand that we're introducing that does both rapid shutdown and monitoring. So there's all these new capabilities that you can offer to your customers when you're bringing them a string inverter that mimics some of the other offerings in the inverter world today for residential. And so we've also been seeing on the commercial side maybe some advantages to putting it CCA. This is the other Tigo, the legacy product from Tigo. It's been out for many, many years. That connects to their tap, and you can form a Wi-Fi mesh on the roof on these big systems out there. And as I note, if you run into a situation with a really broken up roof and you really can't take advantage of the 3741 capabilities or our inverters and maybe some racking solutions that we're qualified with, then maybe this is another way to go, in that you get both the optimization, for a wide variety of roof equipment that may be shadowing the array. You get rapid shutdown for compliance to 690.12, and you get monitoring to help sell the whole job to your commercial buyer. So it's an interesting thing where Tigo will actually be white labeling our product with this capability in it, and we'll be offering it under the Solis name as well. And so this is an interesting collaboration that we're having with Tigo. We've been working with them for years and years, since I joined the company actually back in 2016. And so we've had a long and up and down relationship with them. And today we're supplying Tigo rapid shutdown devices with the new pure signal capability. So if you have multiple inverters on site, you can tie together the Tigo transmitters to avoid any crosstalk issues. And the other option is going to be with Solis, you'll be able to get the CCA integrated at the factory into the inverter, and you can hardwire the tap onto that and really offer that kind of optimization, Tigo optimization on your commercial rooftops. So really, we hope that this is offering just another way for you to design your systems with Solis. The S6 hybrids, we're very excited about getting them to BayWa here in Q3, and then in Q4 for the Solis Hub. So any questions you have on how our device is a little different than others, how we can improve on these systems and really get you optimized for however you might want to use the Solis hybrid. Like I say, it doesn't require PV. You could just use it as a battery management device, essentially AC coupled. I mean, that's, if you don't put any PV on it, you just tie the hybrid to a battery, you essentially are just charging off the grid, you essentially got an AC coupled system, right? And so, yeah, it's very versatile in that respect. And then, you could add on the hub later on if you wanted to add in more capability or put tie PV to it or whatever you wanted to do. Okay, so then as I note, we should finish our testing for SA, sorry about that, testing for SA by end of the June here. And so, maybe 6 weeks to get it on CEC list. And so we're very excited about getting these new 25 to 60K inverters into your hands, because of course, Solis really made our reputation for reliability with our 25 to 66K line of inverters. They were just rock solid for us, and they were white labeled by other companies, and Solis sent them out ourselves, and we really developed a good legacy product, and they're still operating course today, many of them all the way through their warranty. And so we really are quite excited about getting out what we feel is sort of a bread and butter product for Solis.
And Terrence, just to confirm,
Yes.
We have people asking, these will be certified for Canada as well?
Oh, sure. Yeah, when we get they'll be actually tested. Our NERDL, our nationally recognized test laboratory, is CSA, and so you'll see that that they're testing to the Canada/US UL 1731 SA and SB test standard. So yes.
Thank you.
With having the capability of a 208, a true 208 three-phase inverter, you really give some versatility to a lot of these apartment complexes. As I know, you'll see these all throughout North America, and that's being taken advantage of by another company that's putting on these systems. We feel this is a bit more elegant. It's a smaller space, it's a single unit, less to go wrong, and just like you see in this one, this is our 100K that I think you're looking at here. And you can see they have lockout, tagout DC switches there for every other MPPT there. So each switch for 2 MPPTs, 10 MPPTs, 20 inputs. But as I note, each input has each MPPT has 2 inputs, but each single input can handle the whole power of the MPPT. So yeah, you only really need to bring back 10 strings, and you can double them up, using a Y connector in the field, unfused, of course, because it's not required. So versatility, maybe some customization that you can do with different companies. And we got a lot going on actually in the 1500 volt area as well. We sell a lot of these inverters into Canada at 1500 volts because you can put 1500 volts on the roof in Canada, right? And so we're very happy to be supplying our 125s and our 185K inverters. They're 1500 volt inverters to the Canadian market for use on the rooftop. And so we're looking forward to getting them that commercial grade rapid shutdown device. And we think it's going to make a super elegant solution for Canadian rooftops as well. So that's really all the news I got for Solis here in June. We want to do another one of these updates for you every quarter if we can. We're doing our own Solis quarterly updates, and we would love to make sure they're customized for BayWa as well. So anytime you guys want to get to the latest news of what's going on at Solis, we can put together something for you guys. And I was happy to kind of bring together some news, some recent news from Solis here in this presentation, and hope you're excited with some of these new products we're coming out with. We're trying to, meet what we're hearing from you guys for different solutions. So what do you think? Any suggestions for us on product or maybe questions about what you've seen today? And as I note, I'll send this out to Matthew. I'll get this over to you, and you can disseminate it and show everybody what we've been doing.
Great. Anybody out there? Any questions? This is a great time while we have Solis here with us. So I'll just give it a few more seconds. I don't see anything at the moment, but if you have any questions, please put them on through. Can you confirm that the AC disconnect button is only available on the hybrid inverter and not on the standard?
Yes. The button on the hybrid is going to be capable of not only being on the unit, but also being moved off the unit. We are actually doing a little bit more development of that button because we feel like a system, an RPO, a rapid power off, or a system disconnect is really going to be more what the firefighters are really looking for. It's nice when you go up to the hybrid and you see a red button there, and the fireman, gloves on, can punch that red button and essentially put the array into module level open circuit, less than 80 volts, and essentially immediately. But if it's a hybrid, the inverter doesn't shut down. It's got a battery to run off, right? And so really what the fireman would prefer is if I had a button that shut down both the battery, the PV, the battery, and the inverter itself. And so this sort of RPO or rapid power off or system shutdown button that we can just use. We can actually use a single button, because remember, we can daisy chain these inverters together. Remember me telling you that? So we can daisy chain a number of these inverters together and then just use a single button to shut them all down. And so we feel as though this is actually more along the lines as we go forward. So today, yes, it's just a rapid shutdown button, but we feel like the development that you're going to see going forward is a button that's actually removable from the actual inverter, and can then be mounted in a more convenient location for the fireman to shut down the entire system. On the residential product, I don't believe we're putting a rapid shutdown button directly. Actually, I do. I thought we were putting a rapid shutdown button right on the new residential inverters, although I don't see it in this image here. Yeah, I'm feeling like we got to that's something that we got to add or do something about, because no, we don't have. I don't see one there on the new inverters. I'll check on that for us.
Okay. Is there an energy meter on board the residential inverters where you can install consumption CTs?
On the hybrid, yes. And so not on these small grid tie inverters, but on the hybrid, it does come with the Acral meter, which is mounted usually right at the service panel, because it requires 240, so you can just draw right off the service panel to power it up. And it has 2 CTs on it, so it gives the inverter the consumption, load consumption, so it can kind of tell what the percentage of PV and power and PV system power is contributing to the loads, how much AC power is being drawn, etc.
Great. And someone else asks, max oversizing. Can you please confirm?
Right. So what I like to do here is I like to look at my spec sheet and see the rated voltage of these inverters. And for example, this one here is 330 volts DC. And as I note, we can put 14 amps per MPPT. So if you multiply 14 times 330, you get what is it, 4,600 watts, something like that. And so on our 10K inverter, you could put as much as 18K on it and not really stretch the capabilities of the MPPTs. And so typically our advice is 1.4 to 1. If you're going over that, we would encourage you to just double check your numbers. And if you're going, let's say, past 1.75K, we would encourage you to give us a ring. But as I note, these inverters are very capable of handling oversizing and are not really even stretching the capabilities of putting as much as 4,500 watts on each MPPT. So we're proud to say that the DC-AC ratios are quite high on these inverters. Of course, you'll be clipping like madman, you know, if you're putting 18K on a 10K inverter, right? But if you're in a highly shadowed area, or you're putting your modules at 90 degrees, you know, these sorts of things, sometimes you got to go 2 to 1, right? And so that's what we were considering as we designed these systems.
Great. And I see one more question. The new Solis RSD 1100 volt, what is the max number of the strings?
20 amps per string. 4 strings is the way we're designing it today.
Great. And then what is the high voltage battery range on the Solis 6 kilowatt hybrid?
120 to 500. 500, 550. 100, 120 to 550.
Great. Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you very much, Terrence. Really appreciate you taking time to help out and educate us and our customer base. A couple of quick things. This was recorded. It'll be on our YouTube channel later today, so please go there if you'd like a copy. It'll also come out in our monthly newsletter here in a couple of weeks. You can find all information on this product on our web shop. So if you haven't signed up for the web shop yet, I'd like to encourage you. You can find the specs, the pricing, install manuals. You can place orders on there, see the status of orders. It's a really great tool and resource. If you have follow-up questions, we have plenty of sales reps hanging around, so please reach out to either our inside or outside reps and for more information. We do have a lot of Solis on order currently, and it starts to land beginning next month, and then it'll continuously arrive after that. So once again, thank you to Terrence and Solis. Really looking forward to pushing this relationship. I think it's going to be a great solution for folks out in the marketplace, and thank you to all the customers who attend. Really appreciate you taking your time to be with us. Have a great summer solstice, everybody.
Hey, happy solstice, everyone. Thank you so much.